Here we go. Right. By the way, any echoes there?
Nope, I'm good.
Good, 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 good. Okay, so it looks like we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, everyone. Welcome, bienvenue to all my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villainy aficionados. One more time, welcome, bienvenue. Welcome to an episode where you have your basic average boys here to make a point because it's all about impossible. Here we go, everyone. Even though it was a shitty intro, but still, you're gonna get the point. What we're gonna talk about in the Shadow Council episode 31. I mean, I still cannot believe we're in episode 31. Wow, But anyway, without being about the bush, yeah, this subject today is gonna be about Kim Possible, which also I just do have to say came as basically one of our wish basically on our previous Shadow Council episode. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yep.
Absolutely, So, like always, I'm your host, Laura Shadows, with, of course, one of my charming Shadow Council associates, TK, the Lucky Bastard. And without any further ado, just let's begin, shall we? This one crazy bonkers discussion, which I know it's gonna be one. But anyway, let's move on to this, shall we? Okay, so one of the first thing I just want to talk about, because I want to change a little bit. Like, I want to change a little bit of the direction that we usually go in the Shadow Council. So my question to you is, what was your first impression when you were first introduced to the Kim Possible TV show? Go for it.
My first impression. I know I liked it. I mean, I was young then, but I know I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. I liked the characters. Um, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That was quick. Now, I mean, for me, the first impression, I used to. I mean, the very first time I seen it was, I'm not joking. It was like on a German channel called Zupa RTL, basically, and uh, that was kind of like my very first time I've seen Kim Possible, and immediately, even if it was in German, immediately I kind of I'm not gonna say I immediately fell in love with it, but I was kind of interested. You know, the whole like teenage spy idea. Also Kim Possible for me was like a very interesting character as well. Unstoppable, sometimes annoying, but most of the time funny. And of course, I mean, since I am the villain's life, Kim Possible does have a very interesting rogues gallery. So I think like the one of the first impressions I have with Kim Possible are definitely the villains. Are definitely the villains, but the overall the idea and the world that Kim Possible was in, that also kind of made a big impression on me as well. So so overall, at first I found it interesting, but later on I actually started to really love it. Now, of course, one of the things, of course, we do have to talk about is, of course, with the character of Kim Possible. I mean, he came. I mean, basically, he came to a time where basically James Bond was already on the horizon. I think that during that time, I think we had Pierce Brosnan movies. So it came at the time when James Bond, struck hard. He also came at a time where Charlie's Angels was already out. So because that's basically how I always saw her character, kind of like a mixture of James Bond and the Charlie's Angels. Put together with, of course, with the sprinkles, which of course teenage sprinkles.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I mean, uh, for me personally, I was what Kim Possible was always like one of the most original like Disney characters that they ever created when it comes to TV shows and all. I mean, what do you personally think about it?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely a lot of. Try to say that again. There's definitely a lot of originality. I think that. I mean, she's. I would call her vintage. I would really call her vintage Disney, because she is. I always thought that like the Disney shows where I'm trying to think the right word. I always thought they kind of like had like an element of like you haven't seen this before. to them. Um, and I feel like I can't really think of any other shows. Maybe Totally Spies, although it is really different. But I would say, I mean, overall, I can't really think of any other shows on any other networks that were like Kim Possible. Um, so I think it really was like one of a kind. Um, and I think it was an interesting choice having the main character be like a teenage girl. Um, but I don't know, it works.
Yeah, I mean, like, totally agree with you because, like, besides James Bond, the Charlie's Angels, comparison. I mean, also you have to, you do have to take into consideration that it came a time when basically the whole teenage aspect basically was on the horizon. I mean, sure we had those kind of things like in the '90s and the '80s, maybe a little bit in the '70s, I think. But I think like in the early 2000s onward, I think like that was the time when basically the whole teenage idea basically spread.
Yeah,
So I would, so I would, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I would even go on and say that like Kim Possible, again, for me personally, when it comes to animation, I think like Kim Possible might be like one of the, I would say, founders where basically the whole teenage idea originated. I mean,
yeah,
again, I could be wrong because there was because back in those times there were multiple, different TV shows connect with with teenagers and everything. But I've always thought Kim Possible was one of those, who kind of like started the whole this idea of like teenagers. They can be anything from like spies in this case to like superheroes to I don't know, like villains or soldiers or whatever. Like you kind of get, you kind of get the idea.
yeah. Well,
So
the other
yeah,
thing I was just thinking about is they didn't. They also didn't. I'm gonna make a comparison. They didn't make her character. I'm gonna use the show Victorious. On that show, they made the main character Tori. They kind of made her pretty close to perfect. One thing I
mm,
really appreciate about Kim Possible, thinking back about it, is they did not make Kim perfect. Like, 'cause, I mean, they had her get a zit, they had her blush. I mean, they had her go through a lot of like things that like a teenager will go through. Um, so they didn't like. They also They also like stayed away from like the whole like she's perfect thing. Like they
oh,
showed like multiple
absolutely.
flaws.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, like that's one of the things. One of the reasons actually why I actually really liked her character is because like you said, with being a very typical like teenage program, basically, you could have they could have easily made Kim Possible's character perfect as as sometimes when it comes to like this typical like Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons, you think like that would be kind of like a traditional thing to do, but no, I do agree that the showrunners behind Kim Possible, I do agree that they tried to make her a character that has flaws. Like she's not she's not a perfect teenager in this case, and she's also not a perfect spy. Like she, even though like she has experience, that's for sure. Because since we have that what was it called, the Stitch in Time, I think
Yes. Yeah.
that free part, you kind of actually had the idea that the whole spy thing she had ever since she was a little girl. But even still, like at the age that she was, you can kind of feel like she's still like learning. She's still
Yeah.
like gathering a lot more elements to kind of put her into like her collection of experiences, basically. Like and also at the same time, which you mentioned, she also is flawed as a teenager, when it comes to like relationships, when it comes to like certain moments or occasions, or when she's like fighting that girl, what was it called, what was her name, she who always bullied her,
Oh, Bonnie.
um Bonnie, yes, when she's fighting Bonnie basically, or confronting her, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, like that. I think like that's one of the reasons why Kim Possible for me was like a perfect character, because like again, they could have made her 100% bulletproof, solid gold, perfect, but which would be cool, because like it is, this show is basically targeted to like teenage girls in this case, but instead of doing that, I really, really appreciate they went with like, yes, she's a hero. but she's a hero with her own flaws, with her own problems, with her own challenges in life,
Yeah.
basically, and which is one of the reasons why I believe that the character is actually even way more loved even today. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, also like even though I will admit her character sometimes again, when it comes to heroes, sometimes I hate that when like there are sometimes when you could kind of feel she has a bit of an ego, like for example, when they're going on a mission and basically like either a celebrity or a pilot or a businessman or like a farmer or whatever, like they're giving them a ride and they're saying, "Oh, thank you for Kim. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Kim Possible." Like like it's the least I could do after you save my village, after you save my career, after you save me from falling from the tower, or like saving me from trying to become a hamster or whatever. And then basically she said, then she basically started saying, "Oh, you mean that little like accident with the whatever?" I'm like, it was nothing. Huh. Yeah, that's okay. I'm like, though at those times you kind of feel a little bit of her ego,
Yeah.
a little bit, and again, I know that this is part of her character, and all, but like that's one of the things I kind of made me a little bit annoyed about her character, but okay, I'm like, yeah, I was like, you know what, she's a teenager, she's still learning, she's still young. I'm like, just let her, like just let her have her moment,
Hmm.
basically, you know but you kind of get the idea.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, uh, well, of course, speaking of the main character, of course, we do have to mention, of course, her loyal sidekick and also later on lover, Ron Stoppable, and of course, his favorite naked mole rat, Rufus. Now, okay, I just want to ask you, who do you want to start talking about first?
Hmm. That's a good question. Let's do Ron first.
Okay, Ron Stoppable. Like, I just want to tell you this. There are times where I liked him. There are times he made me laugh. But there are definitely were times where I just even want to push him off a cliff. Because like sometimes he can be so irritating, so annoying, And again, I get it. He's supposed to be, because since you have a double act thing going on, he's supposed to be the comic relief
Yeah.
of this dynamic duo, basically. I get it, but I don't know. There's a few elements of his character that I always thought, it was a bit annoying. Like for example, do you remember the episode where he got from Bueno Nacho that like a millions and millions of dollars as a reward?
Yes. Yes.
I hated him in that episode. He
Well,
became such
I
a
can see that.
rich jerk, basically a total dickhead. Like I really hate him in that episode. Or even like for example, when I think it was like one of the first episodes where basically Kim Possible and Ron was trying to find a job, and again, where did they work? In Bueno Nacho, of course. And basically, Ron basically kind of showing off his like kind of like talents and how he's working everything. That was also pretty annoying. I mean, I don't know what do you think about the. I don't know what do you think about this.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there were times he could be annoying. I think as the show went on, I think they made him kind of a little. I think how I always saw his character was he always started off a lot less goofy, and as this show went along, as the season went along, they made him more and more goofy. Which I didn't mind. I thought he was better when he was goofy. But I, I mean, I can see what you're saying though. There were times it was annoying. I don't know if I would have pushed him off a cliff. I think he would have fallen off on his own anyway. Um, or at least his pants would have fallen off the cliff. But um, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, he could be annoying. I kind of liked his character. I mean, I think it was him and Kim Possible. It was a good balance. It was a good dynamic. Um,
Yeah,
I think that having them actually then after So the Drama, actually like putting them together and having them date, um, I think they really swung for the fences with that. I think that was a real risk. And I think it actually they that actually worked out well for them. But his character, I mean, him and Kim, I mean, they were really balanced well, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, also, I just want to tell you that the whole like them becoming like boyfriend and girlfriend, or should I say, basically them becoming a couple. I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
I I kind of saw it coming a mile away because like there were a lot of like different signs throughout the show, like all the way before that. Wait a minute, that toy robot invasion thing was a free part, right?
Um, so I think they split. I think you can split it into a three-part, but it was actually a movie, I think.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just like Stitch in Time, that was also a movie. They split in three parts, but it was actually a free part, right?
I don't know. I mean,
But in, but
but
anyway, like during that time, basically, I mean, I mean, the way how that part of the story basically went, I can kind of even see the showrunners and the writers. I can kind of even see them actually uh, getting this idea of trying to make Ron and Kim a couple, basically being like a last minute idea. I mean,
yeah,
I can kind of see that, even though, don't get me wrong, there were signs throughout like the entire TV show before that storyline, but it was never, but again, they never ever actually touched upon that, so it kind of makes me wonder, was that like I said, like a last minute idea, or did they actually plan to actually introduce them as a couple later on? I mean, what do you actually think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think. I feel like season three, I feel like it dropped a lot more hints about that. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like the decision, if I were guessing, I would say I feel like the decision to actually do it, um, that could have been a snap decision. Because it would, I mean, actually putting them together would, I mean, it would alter their character dynamic, going forward. So I think that is a decision that probably was maybe talked about for a while, but actually decided on at the last minute. Um, and I think that it, I mean, the, then how it played out in season four, I think, I don't know. I think that partially because if I remember season four right, I think that was a renewal that came after So the Drama. I don't think that they had the renewal before that. So I think that they probably had an idea where they wanted to go with the relationship, but I think they kind of like it played out like episode by episode, or played out like it played out like not episode by episode, but I'm trying to think the right word. But I don't think it was like necessarily like all written out in advance. Um, yeah.
Okay. Also, I want to forgot. I just want to go briefly into before we go further. I forgot to ask you like about when it comes to Kim Possible. Like, what's your like if you can choose out of all of them, what would be your like favorite moment of of Kim Possible as a character?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think that really that scene at the end of So the Drama whenever she beats Draken, like that like zoom in, I think that's really cool.
You mean wait? You mean are we talking about the same thing, but where she kicks Shigo in the tower,
Yeah.
and you see like the rain and the thunder?
Yeah.
We talk about that. You talk about that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good because that's also like my favorite moment as well. You kind of make me feel like it kind of make me give it kind of make me uh feel like that she became sort of like a Batman type of character.
Yeah.
I mean, And also that little smirk in the end. That was like kind of perfect. But also at the same time, you think like I think like she's maturing a little
Yeah.
bit. Like she's not the same person as she was at the beginning. Now with that, I want to ask you, what was your Ron Stoppable favorite moment? I mean, which one
Oh,
would it be?
I got it. When he made Draken say his name at the end of So the Drama.
Okay, that was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good one. But I have one better.
Because
I
Draken
have
never got
one
his
better.
name, and I love whatever he said over Draken saying, "Say my name, say my name."
Which
I
is kind
love
of,
that.
can we just admit it was kind of odd because there were a lot of times throughout the show where he actually knew his name.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit odd that he forgot it. But anyway, okay, that's your favorite moment. I'm gonna give you one better. Uh, the alien invasion
Okay.
with the when he was all blue.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's a good. Yeah.
Ron Stubble. I mean, again, he didn't. He had a lot of good moments, but I think that one, for me personally, it beats all of them because like
Yeah.
that. Because out of all the moments that he had, that was for me the only one where he actually not only he wasn't comedic or hysterical or dumb or anything like he actually basically showed him to be like a true hero, basically like to take when he basically took the fight and everything that was going on seriously, like
Yes.
it really shows how much the character matured in a way, so I would say definitely that's my favorite moment of Ron Stoppable for sure. Now let me ask you this. Do you have any moments where you hated him? And there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them.
Probably when he got his hair. Probably when he got that haircut in the first season.
Ooh, when he was compete against senior, junior. That's
Yeah.
a good one. That is a good one. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
For
That
me,
kind of ticked me off in that.
okay, for me, it has to be when he got the money, the moolah. That I
Oh
think like
yeah.
that for me is like when he was like the worst. I mean, man, I mean, I mean, the closest to me, again, he was kind of brainwashed, but like he was still like a dickhead, and it was like when Ron turned evil. You
Oh, I
know,
forgot about that. Yes.
yeah, I mean, like I have to admit, if Ron, can you imagine Ron being evil? Like, not simply he would be insane, and maniacal like the Joker, but basically he would have made a way more better, dangerous villain than Draken.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about Ron that made me think of that? Remember that episode where he's the fearless ferret and he's working with the older guy who's the fearless ferret?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
a,
the one with Adam West.
yeah, that was a very good parallel to Batman Beyond.
Yes. Oh, ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, you're good. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and also, I mean, again, having Adam West as the voice of that former hero, that was a pretty nice touch. Who was the guy who voiced that skunk?
Oh, I should know that. Hang on. I'm gonna look that up.
Because I always can imagine, because again, I could be wrong. I could be really wrong, but I can always imagine that he was voiced by the guy who played Robin in the 66 TV show.
Let me look.
I mean,
You said the skunk, right?
he was kind of like a skunk, yes, like supervillain.
John C. McGinley.
Let me see if that's John C. Oh, okay. I know the guy. I know this actor. Okay. I know. I always kind of felt like since that was Adam West, I felt like that guy was voiced by the guy who played Robin in the '66 TV show. But again, I was wrong.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean that would have been cool. Absolutely. Now, with that being said, we're gonna have to talk about our favorite mascot of the team.
Yes.
It kind of makes me wonder how this character is not actually way more famous. I mean, I'm just saying because even though yes, he's a naked mole rat, but right, a mole rat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know he's a naked mole rat, but still I mean, one of the greatest elements of Kim Possible, we have to admit, was always Rufus.
Yeah.
And of course and of course I love his relationship with Ron. All the way through, especially one of my favorite moments I have to be, which was I'm gonna ask you a few seconds later. One of my favorite moments of Rufus and Ron was basically when Dee and Amy mutated Rufus and oh shit, what was the guy's name? Mr. He was voiced by the guy who voiced Krunk.
Oh, Barkin.
Yes, Mr. Barkin. When she basically mutated him and Rufus, and that little moment they had, basically if Rufus, come on, I know you're deep inside, you still remember everything. And he's like, that's my Rufus, and immediately he went all savage and everything. That was great for me, and especially that moment before they mutated, they basically waving each other goodbye. That was very touching. I mean, what will be your favorite moment between Rufus and Ron?
The naked mole rat.
No. What will be your favorite moment?
Oh, moment. That's a good question. What was the I forget what the flashback scene was, but the one that showed how Ron got Rufus, was it the Stitch in Time, I think?
Yeah, it was the Stitch in Time, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
Okay, fair
By the
enough.
way, one thing I got to say about Rufus, Rufus was easily the worst part of that live action Abomination.
Oh my god! Sadly, we're gonna talk about it a little bit later for sure. But yeah, absolutely.
That's the part that bothered me the most, is they changed everything about Rufus in that movie. That's the part that really bothered me. Because Rufus is I think he's one of the best characters in that show.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why they changed him so much.
I think one of the reasons, because the way how he was acting in the TV show, because he was acting all cartoony and everything. So I think that's one of the reasons why they changed him, because they wanted to make him more, I guess, grounded and realistic. Which again was a big fail mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, but seriously, if you're gonna make a Disney streaming movie, especially about a character that is basically no. Let me rephrase that. If you're gonna make a movie that is basically on the same level as let's just say what was that Nickelodeon superhero TV show that also came out as a movie a little bit recently?
Henry Danger.
Yes. If you're gonna make a movie that is basically on that kind of level when it comes to bonkers and story wise and tone and everything, they could have easily left Rufus the way he was.
Yeah.
All cartoony and everything. Because we have seen CGI cartoonish characters in live action. So I don't know why they did this to Rufus, but anyway, we're gonna talk about.
The question I have is, if they made Phineas and Ferb live action, I mean, would they botch Perry? I mean, they'd have to. I mean, you couldn't make Perry you couldn't make Perry realistic in any respect.
Here's a theory. I think, and again, I maybe some of the people out there maybe they do care about that part, But I think if they ever try to do a Phineas and Ferb live action, I think they would have scratched. I think they would have scrapped that part. I think like they would. Here's my guess. I think they would have made that character as like an actual pet, and I think like the scientist, the main villain of Phineas and Ferb. I think like they're gonna try to connect them more with them rather than him. So I think that the whole spy thing, I think they would have scrapped it. I mean, that's my guess.
Oh,
yeah, because I think like, yeah, because sorry, what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say. I mean, I guess I could see him doing. I guess I could see him doing that. I mean, it depends. It depends how realistic they want to go with it.
I mean, look. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It depends how realistic they want to go with it.
True.
I mean, I don't think they should ever try to do a live action Phineas and Ferb, just for the record.
No.
Because I don't think it would work. I'll say this. I'd rather see them try, and I guess they're trying this, or going to try this. I'd rather see them try a live action Rugrats as opposed to a live action Phineas and Ferb.
Rugrats?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah, that's legit from what From what I read, they're legit doing that.
Then whoever is doing this, they need to stop it. Because like there is no fucking way you can do Rugrats live action. No fucking way.
I don't know how they're gonna do it. I mean, I can't figure out how on earth.
Look, besides the big sister, besides her, everyone else are like, like from kids in diapers to like, children at a very, very small age, like a young age. Like, how the hell are you going to do that? I mean, it's not like, what was that movie where they basically made those babies smart? McNichol was in it. Oh shit, what was the name? But anyway, you kind of get the point what I was trying to say. I mean, if they try to do something like that, I'm sorry, but like it will feel awkward. It will feel awkward. I feel like the only way they could do Rugrats, the only way they can do them is if they made them more mature.
So guess who one of the writers of the script is?
Who?
Mikey Day.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is the guy is funny, but I have no idea. I don't know.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Because like this could go all over the place. But one thing for certain, I'm not gonna fucking watch that shit for sure. Anyway, now I want to go directly into the TV show thing. Now, one of the things that I first want to mention is that you actually kind of mentioned that before, but the first thing I just want to say is that the voice cast. I am going to mention that a little bit later as well, but like the voice cast of this show. And before I go that, we have a first comment. Oh, from good old FRC. Top quality entertainment from the king of my streams, LOS and TKKKKKKKKKKK. Okay, thank you very much, FRC, for your lovely compliment. Thank you very much. We always try our best. It's a real shame that you're not here with us, by the way. I think you would have loved all this. Don't you agree?
Yes. So far, there's no talk of the bathtub.
By the way, he just simply said bathtub. He didn't say anything else. Anyway, the first thing I just want to talk about the TV show that really impressed me was the voice cast.
Yes.
Sure. Besides, the main cast, of course, of Kim Possible and Ron Stubble, there were a lot of different celebrities on this show that I was actually really surprised they got him.
Yes.
Like I mean, like for example, I mean, we're gonna mention him a little bit later on, but like for example, the first one that comes to my mind is senior.
Yes.
Voiced, I mean, until he passed away, then he was replaced. But like he was voiced by Ricardo Montalban. Of all the actors, they got him to. Oh shit, we have a comment. No bathtub. That's sad. FRC, please don't push him. Just don't push him. Anyway, they got one of the things about the show that I really like was like the voice cast, like from Ricardo Montalban, from like Melissa McCarthy playing Dee and Amy.
Yes.
Was it Tom Kane who voiced the Monkey Fist?
Yes.
Yeah, Tom Kane. Also, I always forget the actor's name. He voiced the senior, junior.
Oh,
I always forget his name.
The guy who played the mayor in Batman, right?
Yes, that's the guy. Yeah, I was even surprised they got him. And then, like, he was like,
I just can't think of his name.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I can't think of his name.
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
So him, then Patton Oswalt as Professor Dementor.
Well, you had Will Friedle as Ron Stoppable. I mean, you had freaking Terry McGinnis.
Yeah, exactly. You have him as Ron Stoppable, for sure. And also, man, I always forget Kim Possible's voice actress's name.
Oh, Christy Carlson Romano.
Yes. Her. Like even she. I mean, like the way how she brought like the character to life is just simply amazing. Like the overall the personality that she gave her, from like the character itself, like I said, sometimes the bits of ego and everything. Like the voice cast, like usually like when it comes to like this type of TV shows, usually they have like a pretty satisfying voice cast. But Kim Possible in this case, like they have a lot of great voice actors for this, and every single one of them did a wonderful job. I mean, even like the parents of Kim Possible, like even their voices were like incredible. Absolutely, and
I think Christy Carlson Romano and Will Friedle, I think they were both on. I don't know if they were on shows that ran. I don't think they were on shows that ran at the same time as Kim Possible, but they were also on 2 other Disney shows. They were on Even Stevens, and they were on Boy Meets World.
I think they were. Yeah. And also, I mean, also one of the things I do have to mention is, I mean, also you having like freaking Raven as Monique.
Yeah.
That was also incredible. And also one of the other things I kind of forgot is that, of course, having the Nicole Sullivan as Shigo. Like she was also great. She was also great. I mean,
awesome as Shigo.
Yeah, I mean, I know her as an actress as well. Like I saw her like in a few different like projects. But mostly I know her from I know her as Shigo. She was also in the Secret Saturdays. She voiced Drew Saturday. She also voiced Minerva from Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. Like her voice acting career was really impressive. But overall, the first thing about the show that really, again, it's really impressive is the voice cast. Now, my question to you is this, and again, when it comes to the voice acting, like we're gonna talk about a little bit later on as well. But I want to ask, like, when it comes to the TV show, now we talk about our first impression. Now, my question to you is, when it comes to the overall TV show in general, like, what is the thing that you love about it the most?
I think what I love about it the most is how they handled Kim and Ron's relationship in season 4, how they handled that changing dynamic. Because it could have gotten very, very, very soap opera-y. It could have gotten very mushy, and it didn't. And they kept it, like, the humor was the same. They kept the humor the same. I mean, they really did that quite well. I also like the risk they took actually doing the dynamic, changing the dynamic, because I mean, it was a major swing for the fence. And I think it paid off. I think it really worked, and I liked it. For me, that's what I really liked about the show. Because, like I said, I mean, that's a dynamic that was kind of like established for 3 seasons, and then they like just completely. I mean, they don't 100% change it, but they change it enough that it could have gone wrong, but it worked.
So that was kind of like your thing that you love the most about it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. For me personally, it was the overall world building of Kim Possible. Like I said, at first, I mean, usually like what mostly every single anime TV show does, or just simply TV shows in general. Most of the time, what usually happens is when they first start their show, like with season one, usually what they do, they always start carefully.
Yeah.
They always start in a much more careful, secure way. And then basically, if the show gets successful, then they start to kind of like spread changes. Basically, they kind of try they try to make not simply the TV show, but the characters. They try to evolve them. And one of the things I noticed from all 4 seasons is that in each and every season, the tone gets different.
Yeah.
Like in season one, you kind of think like, okay, they're more closed, they're more like, secure, they're more like, playing with areas that usually, teenagers and younger kids are like usually familiar with and everything. They try to keep it safe and everything. So they start with this, but then after season one, in season 2, 3, and 4, now you mentioned you noticed like the biggest changes for you were in season 4.
Yeah.
But throughout the entire show, season 2 and 3, I also started to notice different changes. Like for example, what I was talking about is the tone. Like I said, the first one was super fun time, a little bit more lighter, with maybe some like bits and pieces being like serious and maybe a little bit darker. But season 2, 3, and 4, they basically spread the tone of the TV show way more largely into many different areas. Like they started to gamble. Like, I'm gonna put like this. Like they started to gamble. With like getting like some storylines or like elements that could be like treated a little bit more seriously, a little bit more darker. Like you try to kind of like balance between humor and like let's just say a serious tone. Let's just put it that way. Like they try to balance it out. And the way how now again, when this kind of thing happen, it can go both ways. It can be a total train wreck, but also at the same time, it could be successful. It could be a smart move. And in Kim Possible's case, it was a smart move. It was actually a very smart move because that way they tried to evolve the characters. They tried to develop them even way more deeper, make them way more mature, way more experienced, way more kind of like I'm trying to find a word I was looking for. Like I forgot the word I was trying to use, but basically my point is that they didn't keep them the way they were in season 1.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was trying to say, is that they still like develop them, each and every season. Excuse me?
Character development.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, again, I'm going to repeat myself. So basically, like I said, they didn't keep them the way they were in season 1. From each season after the other, they always give them a little bit more and more and more of character development. And that's that's like one of the things I really, really love about this. Like one of the examples for that you just mentioned is, of course, the relationship between Ron and Kim Possible. For as an example, but also not just with that, but like also the way how they developed, like for example, her parents or her brothers, or like Monique or Bonnie, or like different villains. I even like the way how they developed, like even the relationship between Draken and Shigo.
Yeah.
That also changed from season one. You know, even though for me personally, like Shiga and Draken being a thing, like Ron and Kim, again, I saw this kind of thing coming a mile away. Even though for Kim and Ron, I still think, even though you kind of might think it's like a conspiracy theory, but I think like that was, I think like a last minute idea they had when they were doing that 3-part story. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but that's definitely one of the other things. But that's definitely one of the things I really love about the show, the TV show. That really made a big impression on me. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like you're partially right on that. I feel like it was probably. I feel like you are partially right about that. I feel like it was. I feel like they had it kind of planned out, but I feel like actually then committing to it and doing it was like really, really a snap decision. Um, but Draken and Shigo, I agree with that too. That kind of like, I think from the first season, I kind of like said, I thought they were going to get together. Um, I wish they'd put them together before the series finale.
Mm.
Because they always kind of had that like chemistry. And so that would be my only real complaint is I wish that they hadn't waited like till the very end of the show to put them together. It would have been nice to like see them, like see how they played out as a couple and like see the parallel between them and Kim and Ron. So if they ever do revive it, that's something they need to do. That's something they need to focus a couple episodes on if they ever revive it, is like the dynamic between Kim and Ron, and then Shigo and Draken. Because that would have been really cool to watch. But no, I agree. I think that there was a lot of predictability in the show. I think there's a lot of stuff that like you kind of like knew was going to come, or you kind of knew was going to happen, but like it's still kind of, I don't know. It sometimes predictability, it sometimes it's too predictable and it doesn't work. And other times it just works. I think in this case, it being predictable, sometimes predictability works. Sometimes it's good, and I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned that. I mean, sometimes even like in my own videos, I mentioned that from time to time. Like, I mean, sometimes like you have some story elements that sometimes can be very predictable, that you can kind of see coming a mile away. But as basically as basically as they say, it's not as much is not about the destination as much as the journey.
Yeah.
So in this case, when it comes to being predictable, like sure, you kind of saw it coming, but the most important thing is how they handle the ride towards that predictability. So that's why I said it's not about the destination as much as the journey.
Yeah.
So
and they did well with the journey. I mean, they did really well with it.
Absolutely. When it comes to that, I totally agree with you on that one. Because again, the journey towards this predictability, let's put it that way, for the most part, usually it's handled not that good. But there are a few occasions, rare occasions, where actually it is handled pretty well. So, and I think like the Kim Possible thing, I think it's handled pretty well when it comes to the ride towards the predictability.
Well, the thing I'll say about Kim Possible is they always say the sign of something good is you want it to leave you wanting more. Honestly, I think that a lot of people would want more Kim Possible.
I mean, look, Kim Possible is one of those TV shows, it still has a fandom, and it's usually, and I feel like today, usually the fandom are usually the people like you and me who grew up with it. Because when it comes like with so many different TV shows that we have today, I don't think the younger generations today. It's kind of sounds weird for me saying younger generations. Like it makes me feel like a grandpa. Yeah. Again, it's weird. It's weird when I say that. But anyway, like when it comes to generations today,
don't worry, folks. Alan puts his teeth in a little jar next to his bed when he sleeps at night. He told me that.
He reminds me. Where are my teeth? You guys put them on. Got it.
Hold on a second. I gotta go tell some youngsters to get off my lawn. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn!
I hope they hear you from all that window. I hope they hear you. If they hear you, they must have really pretty strong ears. They must be like fucking radars or something to hear you like that. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
Oh,
We have
boy.
another comment. Caroline, haha, give me my teeth back. Well, it's very difficult, Caroline, because there's really good. They're really stuck, like inside our mouth, so it's kind of difficult to kind of bring them back and everything. Like it's, unless you have a pair of pliers, then maybe a different story.
I always said for years, this is off topic, but I always said for years that I couldn't wait for dad to get old and get false teeth someday, because I'd play with him every day by hiding his teeth. I'd get up like early in the morning, I would just hide them under his bed. And it would be so fun.
Excuses. Well, boo-hoo, Caroline. It's not our fault that our teeth are stuck there with super glue.
Yeah.
I mean, haha, hunt for the teeth, for the teeth.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Yeah, because that's actually what I was trying to comment. Thank you, Caroline. Like that's actually one thing I was trying to comment. Like, like what you're doing to your father is like literally like a fucking treasure hunt or something.
Yeah.
It's like his teeth were made of pure gold. Man, but anyway, let me just. Bing! Okay, here we are. Yeah. So one of the other things that, since we're talking about the TV show, one of the other things that also kind of impressed me when it comes to the overall TV show is, again, I kind of mentioned that before, and usually now, again, we had so many different TV shows today that involves teenagers, but even though I kind of today I kind of started getting annoyed, but it's kind of like typical storyline. But but even still today, like Kim Possible always had a very special place in my heart when it comes to like that type of storyline, because she is one of those storylines when it comes to involving teenagers that for me personally actually works.
Yeah.
It actually used in a pretty good way. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it works. I think there's a lot of one thing that's really cool is I think there's a lot of continuity. I think, to your point before, there's a lot of character development, which is great. I also like how kind of you get to see different sides of the characters, like Draken and Shigo, like they're villains, but you also kind of get to see like how they're also like good, like you kind of understand them and you kind of like almost like sympathize with them to a point at certain points of the show. So I mean, I think that it's really well done. Um, in my opinion, I think they could easily revive it. I think there'd be enough people who would watch it. But I mean, it. I don't think they'll revive it, but I think if they ever wanted to, I think they could easily do it.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, I mentioned that before. Like we with so many different anime TV shows there are today, like again, the people who love Kim Possible, like for example, people who love Recess as an example,
Yes.
like they're usually people who grew up watching these shows. Like when it comes to like younger generations today, I mean, like I don't know. They have. I don't know. They would have like too much interest in these types of shows, because like with everything that we have today and all, like I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Kim Possible. I will admit, it does have a strong fandom for sure, but I don't think. But I still think, unfortunately, it's one of those fandoms that slowly it's kind of like getting extinct. I mean, again, I know it's cold and cruel the way how I said it, but like, I think like that's the kind of like, the way how I see it. I think like that's some sort of like a cruel reality. I mean, if you try to revive it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there will be interest at all. I mean, unless you have something like unless you have like a pretty good story to tell, for sure. Now, one of the other things I also forgot to mention that I love about a TV show. Now, usually, you and I know, like usually when you have a TV show, if it's like about a superhero or in this case a secret agent,
Mm-hmm.
usually that part of the main character's life is usually like top secret, like
Yeah.
private, like usually like friends around you and your family they don't know. In Kim Possible's case, everyone knows that she's a
Yeah.
spy, and I was like, and I even like when I was little, I was like, wait, everyone knows? Seriously? And I was, and then later on, as I kind of like rewatched the TV show over and over again, I was like, oh, thank God! Like I was like, that is so refreshing, where basically everyone knows who you are, you know. And I just simply love like when Kim Possible goes on a mission and basically her parents are like, okay, have fun, be careful, boom, that's it. I'm like, wow, wow. I mean, like one of the things that kind of made me really surprised that, like I said, with the notion, with the idea that everyone knows,
Mm-hmm.
is like, for example, when Kim Possible and Ron they took Kim's twins on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the whole mind control chip that Draken had?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it was crazy. It was crazy. But also at the same time, I want to ask you, like, this whole idea that everyone knew about Kim Possible being who she is. Like, I mean, what is your point of view of it? Of this, like, part of the idea for the character. I mean, what do you think about it?
I think it was a smart idea. I think it made things. I think it made. I have to imagine it made some of the writing easier. Having like not having to deal with like any like secret identities or like secrets or anything. So I have to imagine it
Yeah,
made some of the writing easier. Um, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine it working any other way. I mean, I guess she could have had like a secret identity. I guess it could have been it could have been a secret and everything. But I think the way they did it was good. I think it was different than other shows. But no, I mean, I agree with you. I think it was. I like that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's the one of the things that, like I said, at first when I was little, I was really surprised that everyone knows about her identity, and we have a comment. Darren McClimers, how's it going, fellas? Pretty good, Darren. Pretty good so far. Thank you for, and welcome joining our Shadow Council episode. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, when it comes to that idea, like I said, when I was little, I was like, I was literally like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But then, like, as I grew and kind of like, like rewatching Kim Possible over and over again, I was like, it's so refreshing. Like, it's really refreshing. Uh, Caroline says, hi, Darren. Darren, Caroline says hi to you, just so you know. And anyway, so I found this overall idea refreshing because
Yeah.
with so many different at that time, like with so many different superhero stories in this case, like with the whole secret identity thing, kind of keeping it secret from the people close to you and everything, and all that. I mean, I get the idea, but with Kim Possible's case, I really liked it, that everyone knew. Like, it was really refreshing, but also at the same time, I do agree with you, TK. Like, it was a very smart move. It
But
was
you
a
know
very
what?
smart move. It also kind of makes sense why people around the world know her. You know.
You know what would be really cool with Kim Possible?
Here we go.
It'd
Here we go.
be
I
so.
was just waiting for this fucking moment. Here we go.
It'd be.
Okay, shoot it.
It would be so cool if they did like make it like into like a horror slasher like TV show, like cheerleader TV show. Like she goes around the world like killing people. Like it could be like a horror
Kill me.
slasher cheerleader thing. Ah.
Oh boy, kill me now. like seriously, if Shiga was here right now, I would simply tell her like, hey, please just cut my head off. I mean, seriously, like, one of the questions I have for you, like, seriously, why the fuck you don't start? Why the fuck you're not having like a career as a horror director? Seriously, like, seriously, like, start having start your fucking career as a horror director. I mean, seriously, maybe one day you'll be a more messed up version of James Wan or something. I don't know.
Well, I pitched. This is going to be really bad. I pitched to Peta last night. I pitched a horror Wiggles.
No comment about that. No comment about that. I'm not gonna say anything about that for sure. 100%.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because trust me, with that what you just said, YouTube would literally send a firing squad after me with what I had to say. But anyway, going back to the main topic. Yeah, I mean, basically, like, besides that, I mean, we talk a lot about the overall TV show. Now, my question to you is now, first question is, what was your very first episode that you have seen when you were introduced to Kim Possible? What was the episode? What was the very first episode you saw?
My first episode. Oh boy. These are not easy questions. Okay. Let me think. I think it would have been the pilot episode. It would have been it was either the I'm trying to memorize it in my head. It was either the Bueno Nacho one, or it was the one where what was the pilot episode? Was that the Zib one?
Let me check. Give me a second. Let me check. Just a second. List of episodes. Number 1.
Oh, wait, was that the? Okay, now I'm confused.
No. Okay. So the first episode. So the first pilot. The first episode was when Dr. Draken, from the Japanese businessman, he stole that, like, what was it, like a formula or something? Basically, it's Japanese game technology where he created a big red robot.
Oh, okay.
That was the first. That was the first episode. So which one was it?
I'm gonna say it was the Bueno Nacho one. Then I think.
Can you be more specific? Because there's a lot of Bueno Nachos in these episodes.
It was the Oh no, wait, it wasn't the Bueno Nacho one. It was Gosh, I'm trying to picture which one it was. No, actually, I think it was Crush, because I remember Vanky.
Wait, was it?
Yes.
No.
It would have been Crush.
Okay. So it was basically the pilot.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, the episode I remember, the very first one I've seen, and like way back when I was in elementary school, like the first episode I remember that I've seen was, again, there was where Nacho was involved, and it was the episode where like Ron and Kim were trying to find a job, and they were hired in Bueno Nacho. But then on the other side of the episode, you had Draken and Shigo having a hideout inside that big, gigantic cheese.
Yes.
Yeah, and basically Shigo was wearing that green coat thing that that Kim Possible wanted to buy.
Mm-hmm.
That was the very first episode I've seen.
Now, one thing, I always picked up on stuff like this. I have a weird brain. This kind of goes back to Ron a little bit. But have you noticed, like, throughout the course of the show, even from the first season to the second season, their voices change a lot?
You mean the tone of the voice or what?
The tone, yeah.
I mean,
Like Ron's voice, if you go back and listen to it in season 1, then you listen to it again in season 2 and even 3, it goes from being like really kind of like deep and more serious to being a lot more goofy and like light.
again, I think like I think like one of the main reasons is because like since it was a start of it was a start of the show, so and eventually like the kind of voices that you hear in season one usually afterwards they change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually I won't say a traditional thing. It's a very typical thing that happens where basically, like I said, where basically you have the tone of the voices in the first season usually, or even just like in the pilot, usually they're different than basically the type of tone, the tone of the voice that is basically afterwards. Uh, so it's I do agree. I mean, at times I believe I also noticed, but again, being as a first season and everything, I think like that's a very natural thing that happens. Like I said, when you first start a project, like I said, usually it's a time where basically you're still trying to kind of like develop the characters, try to see what kind of a voice they'll have, or the tone, or the personality, or the overall world building. So season one is usually as of naturally it's always kind of like the first stage of a project, you know if it makes sense what I've just said.
Yeah.
But like, I think like
Okay.
it's a very typical thing.
Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. And now the word from our sponsor. Do you find your life boring? Do you find nothing exciting is happening in your life? Then come on down to good old fashioned New York, Kim Possible Spy Academy, just waiting for you to sign up, and you'll be in a deal of a lifetime. Alan is free now. If you're thinking of like doing kind of like the commercial thing, yeah, sure. Uh, if you mean that. Right. Awkward silence. Yeah. Man, I wish I can have some bueno nacho right now. All that talk, really kind of made me hungry for Mexican food. Question: how do you get Rufus out of your couch cushions? I don't know, Caroline. How?
There we go. Okie dokie.
Okay, so it looks like Caroline. She sent us a question. How do you get Rufus out of your couch cushions?
You lure him out with Bueno Nacho.
Good, because I said I don't know, and she said, "Oh, I don't know."
Yes,
Because I was waiting for a punchline, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't know."
you lure. By the way, have you ever seen a real naked war rat? They're ugly looking creatures.
I actually, Caroline, nice. If you're talking about TK's punchline, then yes, for sure, it was nice. Anyway, no, I never seen. I actually never seen a real life naked mole rat.
Oh, I saw a pregnant one once. Oh, they're hideous creatures. Ooh.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, I don't even I don't even like cats without fur.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I mean, you kind of catching my drift. But yeah, but oral, yeah. So basically, that was my very first episode for me. Now, my question to you is, and now this is gonna be a difficult one,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna try to make it easier. What would be your top three favorite episodes? By the way, the 3 parts, you can count them as one.
Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna go with A Stitch in Time.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with um that emotion one in season 3. Um,
Which one?
the emotion sickness.
Oh, you mean where Shigo and Kim had that chip?
Yes.
Ooh, that was a good one. Okay.
I'm gonna go season 4 when Ron and Barkin were stuck in that crate.
Oh, okay, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Ron and Barkin, that was a good dynamic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. For me, I would say my favorite episodes, my top three, would be okay. For me, it's not a Stitch in Time. For me, it's the other 3 part story where basically Draken almost ruled the world with that robot invasion. That for me was one of the best stories they ever done in Kim Possible. So that was my first one. The second one, I'm going with the same with you, Emotion Sickness. That is a priceless episode. And the third one is when Shigo turned good.
Ooh, that was a good one. One I just thought
It-
about was, remember the one when Ron transferred to Japan?
oh yeah, right. In that school with that sensei.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that one.
that was also a good one.
Yeah. What was the one? By the way, what was the episode where Professor Dementor basically had a gadget that basically made Ron and Mr. Birkins and Bonnie and Kim stuck?
Oh, I remember that. Bonding.
Was it? Literally, it was called bonding.
Yeah,
Okay, but anyway, those are my top three fair episodes. Like I said, the 3 part, the whole robot invasion thing, motion sickness, and of course the like I said when Shigo turned good. That episode I have to tell you that episode was so refreshing. Actually
yeah,
see what Shigo would be if she was actually good.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, yeah. With that being said, which episode would you call was your worst one?
Hmm. Worst one. The new
Yeah.
Ron where he got the haircut.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't
Fair
really
enough.
like. I didn't really like that one at all. Um.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough. For me, I would say for me, it wasn't. It wasn't actually. For me, it wasn't actually that one, or even like the one where Ron got the money. For me, the worst episode is when Draken and that scientist guy switched bodies.
Oh. Yes, I forgot about that one.
And the main reason why is because when basically Draken, everything was fine. I like the idea of like the whole Draken switching bodies thing. I mean that was kind of cool. But what I didn't like was the ending. It's basically like, okay, they have this laser, they try to activate it, and then all of a sudden it broke. And I
Yeah.
was like, it broke, and then basically, just simply, Shigo push the button for self-destruct, and off they go. Like calmly, gentle, they don't give a shit about anything. And that for me was like, well, that was dumb. Like seriously, like he did all that for that laser, and then literally nothing happened. So that for me personally, that was for me the dumbest episode they ever did.
Yeah.
You know, but because I was really kind of hoping for like an actual like conflict or something. I don't know, but that was the only episode that kind of disappointed me a little bit. And also, and like I said, my least favorite one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That was kind of dumb.
So, but here's a question I have for you, and this is gonna be a difficult one. Which Kim Possible episode, for you, in your own opinion, for you, was the most disturbing one?
Hmm. The ones with Gil. That
Really?
frog. That frog guy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. For me, it was with the DDs,
Mm.
but not the one where Dr. Draken was revealed to be Drew Lipsky. Not that one. The other one when Boney was kidnapped by them.
Mm-hmm.
That one was like for me a little bit disturbing
Yeah, I can
because of
see
like
that.
what they were. Yeah, I mean, just like in general, the villains, the DDs in general, I always find them very, very creepy villains.
Yes.
You know, but I will admit, they were. I will have to admit, they were definitely Dr. Draken's greatest creation
Yes.
for sure. Absolutely, I really like what he did with them. Now, one of the other things I also we have to mention, because now we talk about like so many different, like we talk about the main characters and everything. Now I want to ask you, the supporting characters, uh, which supporting characters for you are your favorite, but also which one is the worst?
My favorite is Wade.
Fair enough.
Worst? Shigo's brother. He annoyed me.
She goes. I mean the team Go.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. They were, for me. I mean, I wouldn't say I hate him, but I would say like they were meh. I mean, they were like very typical, like egotistical, like superheroes, like it's like nothing that much special. But I was still surprised that she was their sister,
Yes.
because I was like, wait. I was like, wait. First of all, I was like, wait. Shigo has a family. Number one, and two, they're like, and then like they're like her brothers and everything. And then when I seen the costumes, I was like, oh, okay, makes sense, because their costumes are literally just like Shigo's. But anyway, for me, my favorite supporting character, I would say out of all of them, I would say my favorite one. This is gonna be strange, but I'm going with Monique.
Monique. Okay.
Yeah, I liked her. I liked her. Of all the close friends that Kim Possible had, I liked her the most. Because she was always there for her, supportive. And also like she also had some like like secret agent adventures with her and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just liked her. Now I will admit Wade is a cool character. I will admit that. But one of the other things that kind of really annoyed me is that you barely see him outside his room.
Yeah.
But the character I really hate when it comes to supporting characters. Now I will admit, at one point it used to be Boney, but now, especially after that bonding thing, I kind of felt like sorry for her. Also, at the same time, I always thought the senior, junior, and her would be a perfect couple.
Mm-hmm.
So my most hated supporting characters, I know that you're gonna think like what, but are the twins.
I can kind of see that. They were a little bit annoying.
Not a little. They were a lot annoying.
Hicka boo.
Bigga boo. Hoosha! Like they were even annoying when I saw them as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were so annoying. I mean, that just simply proves how the voice actor did his job. He did a magnificent job, for sure. But I mean that's one of the things. Like we talk about like the main heroes, and of course we're going to talk about the rogues gallery. But one of the things I also love about Kim Possible is that they even have interesting supporting characters.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Like none of them felt like flat or stupid or like like seeing them and then forget them. Like I like every single one of them felt unique.
Yeah.
In their own way, and also developed enough to kind of like feel something for them. Let's put it this way. Like one of my favorite supporting characters in Kim Possible, besides her family and Monique and Wade, I always forgot her name. The secret agent woman with an eye patch.
Mm. Oh, I'm blanking on her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. What was her name? Because even right now, even I am buggered.
I thought you were going to say Ron's sister. I thought she was a cool addition in the 4th season.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Betty Director.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I thought she was also a cool supporting character.
Yeah,
the whole
she was really
secret missions spy thing. Like like I really like her character, and what should I say, her involvement in the like certain like Kim Possible episodes. You know what? Like I know I said the twins are the most my most hateful supporting characters, but actually who I will put in that mix.
Hmm.
If again he only appeared, I think he only appeared once.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember that episode where Kim Possible basically had in her house and her school that aristocrat?
Yes.
We had those like knights basically trying to kill him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That aristocrat kid, that is also one of my most hateful supporting characters.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, because he was a total pompous twit.
Yes. I did like Felix, the kid in the wheelchair who would show up every now and then.
Oh yeah, the guy with the kid in the wheelchair. Yeah, he was also cool. He was also a cool character, for sure. Actually, who I also liked. I mean, at first I found him annoying, but later on I kind of liked him. What was the name of the geek with the glasses? He appeared a few times.
Oh, Ned.
Yes, I also like him. At first I will admit he was annoying, but like he was actually a pretty interesting supporting character.
Yeah, he grew on me as the show went on. He grew on me.
Yeah, but I will admit the guy in the wheelchair, the kid in the wheelchair, he was a pretty good supporting character. And also, I mean, you gotta love his wheelchair.
Yeah.
I mean, this like Charles Xavier level wheelchair.
Motorhead too. I like Motorhead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. But so I mean, again, there was a lot of supporting characters. I'm really trying to trying to find more of them. Oh yeah, there are others. I forgot to mention, like, not the sensei. What was the name of that ninja girl?
Oh, I can picture her. I can't think of her name. But her name.
Wait, let me see, because she was also a pretty cool character when it comes to supporting characters.
Oh,
Yori.
Yeah.
Yori. Yeah, she was. I mean, she was also a pretty cool character. In the Kim Possible TV show, for sure.
Yeah, I liked her. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go on and on and on, but like I think like it's time to basically come down to my arena, basically. And of course, when I say my arena, I mean I'm talking about the Rogues Gallery, because one of the biggest attractions of Kim Possible are, of course, the villains.
Yes.
And Kim Possible, I mean, I would say, beside Batman, I would say she has one of the most ridiculously iconic, unique Rogues Gallery I've ever seen.
Yes.
And of course, the main two top stars are, of course, who?
Draken and Shigo.
Bingo. Oh my God! Like I mean, Nicole Sullivan, like I said, she her voice as she goes, she was perfect. But also, I mean, John DiMaggio as Dr. Draken, he
Yeah.
was amazing. I mean, he basically what he did, he basically did his own voice, but a little bit, like but a little bit more maniacal in his own energy, like he was like drinking a double espresso every day. But his voice performance as Dr. Draken, he was great. He was
Yes.
absolutely great. Every single scene that Dr. Draken was in was absolutely amazing. Now, to kind of make this a little more interesting, of all the villains from Kim Possible, which one would you choose as your top five?
Okay. Draken, Shigo, Monkey Fist. Hmm. Duff Killigan. And Professor Dementor.
Okay. For me, I'm going with Draken. I'm going with Draken, Shigo, Senior. I'm also adding Professor Dementor, but I'm also adding DN Amy.
Okay.
Yeah, first, I already said that before. Like, I'm a sucker for mad scientists,
Mhm.
and she is one hell of a mad scientist for sure. And again, being voiced by Melissa McCarthy, that's also a big bonus. But besides them, like, okay, besides your top five, who would be your like honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I think the seniors for sure. Motorhead. Eric the synthodrone.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think that would be my. I think that would be my honorable mentions.
Okay, for me, my honorable mentions would be Warmonga. I really liked her as this like big gigantic like green lady.
Okay,
Uh, yeah, Warmonga would be my honorable mentions. Dove Killigan will definitely be one of my mentions. The guy who voiced him like did a remarkable Scottish accent, by the way. Uh, Dove Killigan, Warmonga. I'm also gonna add. There was a lot of like one-off villains, but like I will also add what was the name of that villain? She kind of like she was kind of like a shapeshifter.
Oh,
I mean, with her
Chameleon.
face.
Yeah, Chameleon.
Yes, I will also add her. She was pretty good. And the last one I'm gonna add. Again, he was a one-off villain, but basically Betty Director's brother, Gemini.
Okay.
Like I said, he was a one-off villain, but I actually really liked him. In one episode that he appeared. I mean, he did appear one more time as a cameo in the TV show finale. In the United Nations where Draken got a medal,
Yes.
and you see like all the villains basically sitting in one side, looking at him like all angry, like like you betrayed us, the villains, and everything, And Gemini was actually one of them. But
Yeah.
but overall, I really liked him as an overall villain, for sure. Now, my question now to make it more interesting, which is your favorite like Dr. Draken episode?
Mm. Um. Rappin' Draken.
Okay, mine is when Draken got possessed by the ghost pirate.
Oh yes. That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, just simply hearing Joan DiMaggio with that, "Arr," like "Pirate talk," like that was actually like pretty cool. It was actually pretty cool, and also kind of ironic that, well, not actually ironic, kind of odd that pirate kind of looked like Draken as well, which kind of
Yeah.
makes you think like, was that actually Draken's ancestor or something? But I would definitely say like that was my favorite episode when it comes to Dr. Draken for sure. Now, here's my other question. What would be your favorite Shigo episode?
Shigo. Probably the Team Go stuff where you kind of see her backstory, and her family.
You mean you're talking about the episode where Team Go was first introduced?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. I mean, when it comes to like now, I want to ask you like when it comes to the design wise, like which would be your favorite villain, like design wise?
Design wise, I think Draken.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, for me it would be Shigo. I really like her costume.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the green and black, like I just really like her costume. But I will admit, Dr. Draken also has a very interesting design as well, for sure. And also like I always talk about like I just simply love his little scar
yes,
below his eye. That's also a pretty nice touch. But also, I mean, I kind of forgot to mention this, but like one of the other villains that also should be brought up is Draken's brother,
yes,
the mechanic.
yes.
He was also a pretty cool villain, even though I know that he only appeared twice, I think.
Yeah, he didn't appear all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I know he appeared twice. I don't remember exactly what the story was when he first appeared, but I do remember the second one when basically his mother came to visit and she brought in his brother, and also of course when they were trying to steal the kid's wheelchair.
Yeah,
And also I just love that he was voiced by Joan DiMaggio as well.
yes.
Oh my god! Again, I mean that's one of the reasons why Joan DiMaggio is like one of my favorite voice actors that are working today.
Oh yeah, I love
But
John DiMaggio.
yeah, absolutely. But also I do have to mention like I just love little Draken moments when his mother came to visit.
Yes,
I mean, he's a super villain and everything, but like every time when she shows up, he pretends like he's doing something else. Like, did he pretend like one time he was a dentist or something?
I think so. Yeah,
I mean, with such an evil lair that he possesses, how the hell can you pretend that you're a fucking dentist? I mean, if he said like to his mother, like hey mom, I'm an eccentric rich inventor who lives on an island. I just don't like people and everything. If he said that, I think that would be more easier for her to swallow than saying I'm a dentist. Sure, with like laser beams and machines and henchmen dressed up as like some anti-ecology soldiers and everything, like anti-environmental soldiers. Like, I mean, like I don't know, but like I mean, I mean, again, it's always hilarious to see that because like you kind of feel like how embarrassed he was because like having his mother and everything like in the group and everything. But I want to ask you like my question to you here is because this is going to be a very interesting one. Which of the villains that appeared in Kim Possible, which ones did you wish that they showed more in the show? Like which villain which villain would you have wished to see more more appearances of.
Maybe Duff. They could have used more.
Who?
Duff Killigan.
I think they have used him.
Um,
I think alongside Monkey Fist and Draken and Shigo. I mean, I think like they used him pretty much almost all the time.
Maybe the Mentor they could have used more.
Yeah, the Mentor. I think like the Mentor only appeared like 2 or 3 times.
They could have used. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the villains that they didn't use all that much. They could have used DNA Amy more.
Yeah, she only appeared like I think like 3 times.
I'm trying to think the other. I'm trying to think the other villains. I think they used Shigo. They could have used Motor Ed more. They could have brought him in more.
Okay.
Yeah. I think those are the ones I'm going with.
For me personally, like I would have. I mean, of all the villains that appeared, I mean, and again, there were a lot of them. But I would have loved, for example, like I said, they have used more, the mechanic Edward Lipsky in the TV show, Draken's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I would have really wished that they've used him more alongside him. The other villains I wish they've used more was, for example, the chameleon character, because I think she only appeared once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they could have used her more. And one of the other villains I remember seeing a few times in Kim Possible was that like evil black market dealer, like Jack Hench, I think he was named. He was like this guy with gray hair and like a black suit. He was always kind of like selling evil things.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of.
But like I mean, like I mean, I know that he appeared throughout different episodes in Kim Possible, but I would have loved to see him like actually have like a main role, like a main villain role, at least in like one episode, where basically like Kim Possible, she's facing him, because most of the time when you see him, he's basically like trying to sell things to other villains.
Yes.
So I would have loved, that they have used them as a main villain role, at least like in one episode.
I completely forgot about him.
Yeah, I mean, again, he didn't appear too much, but out of all of them, I think like I would have loved to see, like I said, more of him. And I will also admit, I would have loved to see more of Dee and Amy as well. Even though I know she only appeared 3 times, and again, I guess like because she was voiced by Melissa McCarthy, so I kind of get, I guess like they she was a little bit too expensive for them. Even though ironically is Disney, but okay. But I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see more like Dee and Amy for sure out of all of them.
Yeah, they could have used her a lot more.
Yeah. Also, actually, which other villain I thought also pretty interesting. Do you remember that wrestling episode?
Yeah.
Where the manager of those 2 wrestlers, he stole this kind of like Egyptian amulet, and basically every time when he took it, he transformed into this kind of like Egyptian jackal god or something.
Yes.
That like I felt like him as a villain also was kind of like a pretty interesting one. Especially like I really liked his overall story that he wanted to be like them, like an actual like wrestler and everything. Like that was also kind of interesting, kind of like idea, basically. But I want to ask you this: like, do you think Do you think they could have added Dr. Draken something more to his character besides world domination?
Hmm. I don't
Because
know. Um, Honestly, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, like, because one of the things I kind of found a little bit annoying is that every time when he creates something, well, modifies something, it's usually like because he wants to, he wants world domination.
Hmm.
So sometimes I felt like that maybe at least some like for example when Draken kidnapped Kim's father and the other two who were in college with him. Now that episode I really liked because he felt personal. He wanted to get revenge on like the three people who actually made fun of him and his creations. So that was actually pretty interesting. But everything else was like world domination, world domination, world domination. So I always felt like maybe they could have added a little bit more to Draken's goals, like make him a little bit more interesting. Even though with the type of show that the Kim Possible was, I kind of guess why they made him a little more like a very old school classic generic villain. But I would have loved to see like a little bit something more out of him. If you were a villain, TK or Lord of Shadows, what would you pursue to do?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one.
If I were a
Hmm.
villain, I would want to take all the old TV shows, old movies that people love, and turn them into horror things.
Then I guess your name will be Film Freak
A
or the direct
horror fire.
or Doom director.
Or the horror fire.
Why horror fire?
Because I'm horrifying everything.
Oh, I thought you said horror fire, but I guess what you I know now I know what you're trying to say. Horror fire, like
Yeah.
horrifying. Okay, yeah. For me, oof, for me it's a little bit complicated. I mean, I guess like it has something to do with like world domination, but like not like not in a TK. How did I already know that? But going back to your question, I mean, for me, it wouldn't be just 100% world domination where I just simply rule the world. Like I would say, I guess, my villain goal would be basically uh, try to take over. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, okay, I guess it will be world domination, but in a way that I will create it into like a imperial society. Where basically I will control everything. Which again, it goes with world domination. But I would have done it in a more, I don't know, like, again, not again I would have done it definitely not like by being a tyrant or anything, but like try to make the world like a better place to live. So a pacifistic world domination goal.
Okay.
I know, kind of, I know how to explain this. Like try to make it like a perfect utopia or something. I don't know, like it's a little bit. It's like I said, my goal would be a little bit complicated. But basically, I think like my goal would be tear down the old system and try to create something new. Maybe that kind of actually would have sounded a bit more, reasonable. I don't know. Anyway, so let me ask you this, and I'm afraid to say it to ask you, but no, actually, I'm afraid of the answer, not the question. I'm afraid of the answer. But if they, for example, if the crew behind Kim Possible, they give you like an episode to write and direct. So my question to you is, going with the Rogues Gallery, what kind of villain would you create for this episode?
Hmm.
Again, I'm afraid of the answer.
I might create like an anti-Kim Possible character.
You mean like a reverse or like
Yeah.
a?
Kind of like a reverse. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you would try to do like a reverse Flash
Yeah.
type of thing. Okay, like a negative, like a dark side version. Because a lot of people are saying that Shigo is kind of like the dark side of Kim Possible. I don't actually see that. Her being kind of like the opposite of Kim Possible. I don't know. I mean, would you see Shigo as kind of like the opposite?
No. No.
No, but I like your idea. I like your idea to basically create like an opposite of Kim Possible. I like that idea for sure. Mm. For me, no, I mean, okay, for me it would be a little. We would be here for hours for me to explain this, but like, I, I mean, you know what, the question I had, I'm gonna keep it for a little bit later. But for now, I want to talk like shortly just about this, like the Kim Possible movies. Now, of course, you and I know, like there were two movies they've split in three parts, and they basically made them into episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We had the robot thing with the invasion, we had the Stitch in Time,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, we had the Kim Possible live action movie,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of the worst things they've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. So we can go on and on about this, but like, even though I kind of know the answer, like did you even watch the movie?
The live action one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't have the strength to do it
I mean
because
it,
I know
it
it was gonna be awful.
I mean it I'm trying to think how much to say is it's Rufus is really the worst part about it. Um if they'd actually done Rufus right, um it wouldn't have been terrible. The casting wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad story, but they changed too much in it. Um and I mean Rufus wasn't the only thing they changed. They changed too much in it. And I think that it wasn't good because of all the changes they made. I think it had potential. I mean, I think it could have been good. I think if they had just taken Kim Possible and just in a straight adaptation, I think it would have been much better. Um, I will say this: they got a lot more right than Dragon Ball did. Um, so, but no, it's not a great movie.
Now, I mean, like I said, I didn't have the strength to watch it because just from the trailer, what I've seen, it looks terrible. I mean, the only thing, I mean, like there's a lot of things I have a problem with. Like for example, what they didn't make Draken blue. They just simply made his veins blue. Which for me personally didn't make any sense. Why would you make his veins blue? You know, Even though I will admit in the TV show they never addressed how he went blue. They never addressed that. You know, I guess like the showrunners were like what, we're just gonna leave that to the viewers. Let their imagination go wild basically. But again, I didn't make him blue. The Shigo actress for me, I think she was miscast. I didn't like her performance. The actor who portrayed Draken, I have respect for him. I've seen him in multiple things. Like, for example, even if you remember, we saw him even in Gotham
Yeah.
as well. It's kind of like a Black Mask-ish version of him, of his character. But like, I don't know. It just simply he even didn't fit for me as Draken. I didn't see him as Draken. At least with me personally. But the other things I didn't like. There's a lot I didn't like. Like for example, I didn't even like the casting of Kim Possible and Ron. I didn't like it. Like they they just didn't fit. For me personally, they didn't just fit the role. I know that you said that for you personally, you liked some of the casting, which is completely fine. But for me personally, none of them hit the mark. None of them. And the way how they treated Professor Dementor, and they even got fucking Patton Oswalt playing him. First and foremost, the costume looked horrible.
Yeah.
It looked nothing like the original Dementor. Nothing. Number one. And number two, like, if you look at him, he looked like a special unit Nazi, which was, and again, he looked horrible. And again, getting Patton Oswalt to do a thing like that, it was just simply embarrassing.
Yeah.
I just have to say, it was just simply embarrassing. So, none of the things that were in it, I didn't like the story. Even the story, when I read the premise and kind of like through the clips and everything, kind of realized, kind of figured out what the story was and everything. But even this, I mean, the story kind of felt like, it had some like Kim Possible elements, but like in the end, it didn't land for me. And again, what they did with Rufus was just simply unforgivable. It was unforgivable what they did with him. Instead of making him for what he was in the TV show, they simply made him like a realistic naked mole rat, like, CGI character.
Well, they got Nancy Cartwright back for it too.
Yes, but like she had almost nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
She only did like few voice sounds, and that's it. I mean, it is absolutely unforgivable what they did. I mean, I get it. The type of movie they were trying to do, it kind of makes sense. But like, at least they could have gotten like, a little bit. At least they could. I mean, if they only had, for me personally, at least they could have had like some people who at least knew what they were doing, who at least knew the source material.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
Go
agree.
ahead. Sorry.
I think the problem is and I wouldn't say Dragon Ball did this, but the problem is a lot of these movies, they want to make things a lot more realistic. They want to ground stuff. I think that was its major mistake. I think also movies like to try to reinvent the story, or like to sort of like be an origin. And I think that's also a mistake too. Now I will say this: I think a live action Kim Possible, I think it worked better than a live action Phineas and Ferb would ever work. I think it worked much better, but it wasn't great. I don't really consider it part of the Kim Possible universe. I consider it more like its own canon. I mean, if it's anything, I consider it more its own canon.
Yeah, I mean, also the very ending when basically Shigo and Draken turned to kids. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It was stupid, absolutely stupid. And also, I mean, seriously, like the people behind this movie, from what I've seen, first and foremost, the chemistry between Ron and Kim was bland. Like there was no chemistry between them.
It was way off.
Way off.
Yeah, it was way off, and I mean, it just, I don't know. I mean, I get why they wanted to do a live action Kim Possible, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, like to kind of give an example, I mean, they did the Ben 10 live action actually way more better than Kim Possible.
Yeah. Oh, the Ben 10 live action, I didn't mind that. I mean,
no,
it's really cheesy, it's really hokey, but the one thing I will say Ben 10 does really well is it doesn't change anything. Like, it takes like exactly from the cartoon and it goes exactly live action. Like, it doesn't like change any of the characters. The only two things it changes are Grandpa Max, and both of them, neither one of them I kind of see Barry Corbin more as Grandpa Max. But aside from that, that's why the Ben 10 movies, I don't really mind, because they're cheesy, they're hokey, visual effects are horrible, but it's a straight adaptation.
Yeah, but at least you had the crew of people that they knew what they were doing. They knew the source material, and that's the difference between them and Kim Possible. Because the people behind Kim Possible, I'm sorry to say this, it looks like they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Well, it's the same thing with Dragon Ball.
Same thing, absolutely same thing. Like I said, they didn't knew how the characters work. They didn't knew how the villains work. Like the costume designs, it looked ridiculous and cheap. Like if they only had at least some people who are at least like, I'm not gonna say that they don't need to be fans of the show, but at least they're familiar with the source material. Like at least if they had this kind of people basically inside this project, then at least maybe the movie would have been something. But
Yeah,
for what I've seen, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. So
I
again,
still think
if they ever go ahead, sorry.
I still think Evolution is far worse because you had with Evolution you had Akira freaking Toriyama saying, "Guys, this isn't going to work. This is going to be bad," and they said, "Screw you."
Yeah, I know, I know, I know. I do agree. I do
That
agree on that.
that's why that movie is always going to be. There's never going to be a movie for me, and Kim Possible included. There's never going to be a movie that's going to be worse than Evolution. Um,
Mm.
you can't get any worse than having the creator, like the person who wrote the source material, actually telling you and giving you notes, and completely ignoring him. I mean, you can't get worse than that.
Yeah, but like I said, the what they did with the live action movie, I think it's like they were ignoring the source material,
Yeah,
basically. Just like they did with Dragon Ball Evolution.
yeah.
And I'm gonna even go as far as say that I consider Kim Possible like on the same level worse as Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh yeah, it's definitely in the same category. Um, I mean,
Definitely.
there were things I liked about it, but I mean, it's definitely weak. And I mean, I wish they just gone for a straight up adaptation. I wish they just gone like they hadn't changed any of the characters. I thought having, um, I mean, I don't know why they made so many changes. And like you said, Rufus was the worst. Rufus was no, that was just an embarrassment.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, taking Kim Possible, this live action bullshit aside, between the two movies, again, they were split in three parts, but between those two movies, which one would you say is your favorite?
I think so the drama because I like the animation in that. I like the story. Um, I think originally I remember reading it was supposed to be the series finale. Um,
Yeah,
which when you watch it, it kind of makes sense because it does really wrap everything up quite nicely. Um, but it also does that in such a way that it could have. I mean, it did get another season, but it does it in such a way that it could easily get another season. So I think that it really does everything it needs to do. So I mean, I think that's my favorite one.
yeah. I mean, I also agree. I mean, I liked Stitch in Time, but the one that we talked about, like which was supposedly was to be like the TV show finale. I like that one. I like that story way more better because I do agree. It really felt like a final confrontation between Shigo, Draken, Kim, and Ron.
Hmm.
It really felt like it. Also, because also to give another example, Draken, he almost actually ruled the world.
Yeah,
He almost conquered the entire world with his robots. If if like Kim Possible and Ron didn't stop him. So and also everything that was going on, with that fake guy who was like
yeah,
basically created by Kraken, who at first was like supposedly the Kim Possible's like lover and everything,
yeah,
but then it turned out to be working for the enemy. Well, working and also created by the
yes,
enemy. And I will have to say, when Rufus had bitten off his leg,
yes,
I would say that was a little bit disturbing.
yes.
The way how he shranked and he was like, no, no, like
But
that was a bit disturbing.
that's a very solid movie, though. I mean, that's like as far as far as even the whole show goes. I think that's probably the strongest, even compared to the series finale of Kim Possible. I think that's the strongest episode. That's the strongest like work they've done. Um, I think it is well thought out. And it just I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like because like I said, between like I said, the between Stitch in Time and this one, like the Stitch in Time, like basically the overall goal was basically to wipe out Kim Possible from existence.
Yeah.
But and again, even though it was a movie, but it actually really felt like it was part of the TV show, like
Yeah. Well,
like
and this
an episode story, like a story that is basically split in three parts.
yeah.
But the other one, like you said, it really felt not simply as a movie, but it really felt like a TV show finale. Because, for example, when Kim Possible kicked Shigo, I honestly thought that she killed her.
Yeah.
Like when she basically hit that tower, I literally thought that she fell to her death. But then later on you see her being imprisoned and everything. But again, it really felt like it was a final confrontation between the four
Yeah.
of them. It really was. And and for example, even if that was supposed to be like the Kim Possible finale, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind,
It
because
was
even
satisfying.
then, yeah, I would have felt satisfied, because like it basically concluded a lot of things.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
basically
I would have. I mean, I'll be honest. I would have, after watching it, I would have loved to see Kim and Ron date. But if we hadn't got to see that, I wouldn't have been too upset by it.
Yeah, but also yes, I totally agree. I mean, I also would have loved to see them like actually kind of expand their relationship after they kissed on the what was it, the prom, right?
Yeah.
After they kissed in the at the prom. But for example, even if they didn't continue, that even scene alone where they actually kissed, it would have been, even for me, completely. I would have been completely satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. It would
Like
have,
a beautiful ending.
like Kim Possible season 4. It's the kind of thing that like didn't really need to exist. Like, I mean, they could have easily not had it renewed, and I think it would have been perfect. But I think that it I mean, it exists, of course, and I think that it is really good, though. I mean, that's the other amazing thing about how they then continued from So the Drama is the quality of like the storytelling. It didn't drop off. Like it kept
Yeah,
like it kept getting better, and it like there was no real change, which was the other kind of amazing thing is like after you have like a big like finale like that, you would think that then going back to the TV show, you would think that there'd be some kind of drop off. You would think the quality would be would you lose some quality, but you don't.
exactly. Like you actually took my point right out of my mouth. Like this is exactly what I was thinking. Like literally, with an ending like that, you think like okay, we're gonna do a season 4. A lot of people immediately think, okay, this is basically where everything goes to hell. This is basically everything is gonna be fucked up. But it doesn't. They actually found a way to still make this season perfect and also finish on a high note.
Yeah,
Like because seriously, because usually in this kind of cases, when usually we have the showrunner saying like, okay, season 3, let's just say for Kim Possible, season 3 is gonna be the final one. We're gonna finish on a high note, with a big. We're gonna go out with a bang with this, this movie, kind of being the TV show finale. That's it. Ron and Kim are a couple. Draken and Shiga are finally defeated. They went back to prison. That's it. The end. And then let's just say a few months later, they're like, oh, and by the way, guys, we're coming back for season 4. And then basically, what you think first is, oh no, they're gonna destroy everything. They're gonna turn everything to shit. Everything they worked hard on now is gonna go down to the Davy Jones locker. And it didn't.
no.
It actually didn't. They actually developed the characters, not simply of Ron and Kim, but they also developed other characters throughout season 4 as well.
Yeah.
And when the time came for the ending, they gave it another great conclusion.
Yeah.
And what better way to finish Kim Possible is for them finish high school.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect. And the way how even they concluded with Draken and Shigo, I mean, that was also a chef's kiss. For sure. Now, again, that could also be an open door for like, new stories.
Yeah.
But overall, for what I've got, I was completely satisfied
Yeah,
for
oh,
sure.
same. I think like we were talking about earlier. I mean, I disagree a little bit. I think that you could get enough. You would have enough people interested in a revival of it. I think if they were going to do it, I think it probably should be a Disney Plus thing. Um,
Mm.
I don't know if it would do. I think more people would stream it than would actually watch it. I could be wrong about that, but I think they've left the door open that like they could realistically. I mean, they're reviving Phineas and Ferb. I don't know when they're reviving Phineas and Ferb. They've been saying that for like a year or two now. But anyhow, I mean, if that goes over well, I mean, Kim Possible, I'd like to see that revived. Um, American Dragon Jake Long, I don't know. I could take or leave that. I'd like to see Kim Possible revived. I might like to see Lilo and Stitch the series revived.
Lilo and Stitch, I don't think it will be revived. I don't think that's gonna come back. I feel like the way how they told that story, especially with the final movie, where basically Hamster will create like clones of like evil Stitch and everything. I think like I think like that was supposedly the ending of like in the Lilo and Stitch series or like Lilo and Stitch like franchise, basically. So but again, anything is possible. Which, speaking of, it brings me to our final topic: a possible return. No pun intended. Uh, I mean, now this is where basically I feel like our conversations will get interesting. Now, here's the question I have for you, because personally I have some ideas, but I want to see what you think. So, if they decide to revive Kim Possible, what first and foremost, my first question is this: which do you think will be the best solution? How to revive it? I mean, which do you think will be the best solution? And second, what kind of a where do you think the story could go?
I think if they were going to revive it, I think they ought to have her go to college. Um, I think they ought to show the Ron. Um, I think they should show like the Ron Kim relationship, how it works in college.
But
Um,
being FRC, being a top quality stream so far. Everybody should subscribe to this channel, and TK love them both. Again, FRC, thank you very much for
yes,
your
thank
very pleasant complimentary compliments. Thank you very much.
you. I think, yeah, I think I would just have her continue in college. Um, I think that's the direction I'd go. Um, I don't know what you do with Draken and Shigo because of how they kind of turned good at the end. I don't know if you find a way to negate that or not. I think if you're gonna revive it, I think you have to figure out a way to how to negate that. Um, I don't think you can do Kim Possible without having Draken be the main villain, without him being like the arch enemy. Um, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think you can have. I don't think you can do that. So I think you have to somehow revert them back to being evil. Um, yeah.
Well, you see, I think that's where you're wrong, because uh, I mean, not wrong entirely for the just for the last part you said, because you see, uh, I for a very long time, because like I was thinking about TV shows that could be revived, that could actually make a comeback. I mean, Phineas and Ferb, I do agree. You and I we were talking about this like for a long time. It was like, yeah, I think like 2 years since it was announced that they're gonna bring it back, and it wasn't even a reboot, but actually kind of revive. So here's the thing. One part I do agree that the most reasonable solution for like a revival for Kim Possible is basically to continue the story, but this time in college.
Hmm.
I do agree on that. And not only that, they can also expand, the overall, on the like overall relationship between Ron and Kim Possible. Like for example, you have them, together and everything, but also at the same time, you can also, basically make their relationship a little more interesting. Kind of like, going a little bit deeper, like, making it like, sometimes you can have them quarrel with each other. They can argue. They are in these kind of like arguments, like where basically you can even make throughout one part of the story where they go separate ways, and then basically they go together. After that, like you can have that idea when it comes to that part of when it comes to like reviving the show, but also at the same time. Again, I do agree. Draken and Shigo, they're not gonna go. They're not gonna come back as the main villains for sure, because after everything that happened in season 4, it's not gonna happen. But, and here's the interesting part. First and foremost, I think it will be a time to introduce new villains on the Kim Possible Rogues Gallery.
Okay.
I mean, sure. I mean, look. First of all, think about it. Monkey Fist, he's gone. He's turned into that stone statue.
Yes.
The only ones who remain are literally like Daft Killigan, maybe the Mentor, and and that's and a smidget of others. They're still like out there. Shigo and Draken, they turned good. So that means that for a revival, you need to have new main villains, basically, into the mix. And also at the same time, like again, you could make some old villains return, but I think like the best decision would be to introduce some new ones as well. So that's one of the ideas. The other idea is that you can also do, and again, this is risky, but I think like you can also do is like a spin-off where you see Shigo and Draken try to figure things out and try to live this like life of like heroes or something.
Ooh.
Can I make it? Yeah. Can I make it like a?
That could work.
I think that would be interesting. Because first and foremost, John DiMaggio and Nicole Sullivan, I think they can still pull it up. They can still like pull it off as the voices of Draken and Shigo. Mm-hmm. So I think you can easily for example, you can say the story is set like a few years or maybe like even a few months after the events of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, like I said, the main story could be them trying to live a life outside of villainy, where basically they're trying to find their place in this new world, also kind of like exploring this idea of fighting crime and everything, also at the same time also explore their relationship as well to kind of make it go deeper and deeper and deeper, kind of like try to push them into the same position where Kim Possible and Ron were at the end of season 3. You can do that as well, because we never actually had like a full-on like confirmation there were a couple. We only had like few hints, especially like towards the end of season 4, like the TV show finale. So you can do that. But if you're gonna continue with Kim Possible, first and foremost, you have to change their looks. Yeah. To make them more, you have to make them more older. You have to make them a little bit older. Also, at the same time, if you're gonna bring Draken and Shigo in, then basically they're gonna be supporting characters for sure, but they're not gonna be evil. They're gonna be supporting characters in a good way. I think the parents and the twins, I think they will be still around and everything. Monique as well, but I think since they're in college, I think that there could be also an opportunity for them to introduce new characters.
Yeah,
as well. So that's kind of like my idea. The other idea I had: what if you can make a Kim Possible project where basically they're adults?
I think they could do that. I mean, they'd have to have the right story, obviously, but they could do that.
Because the thing is, for a few years, I had an idea of a story. Now, this one involves with Kim Possible going to college. But basically, my idea was that basically I would have introduced a new villain into the mix. And this time what I would have done is basically the entire show would have had like one big story. Like everything would be connected. Because usually the Kim Possible episodes, usually like each and every episode was like its own story. And even though the TV show had some connections throughout all the seasons, but not that much. It wasn't that powerful. So my idea would be basically, like I said, they go to college. I would have explored a little bit more deeper the relationship between Ron and Kim Possible alongside Draken and Shigo. But at the same time, I would have introduced a new villain. Also, at the same time, I would have introduced Kim Possible to go like into new and different kinds of missions, like more dangerous, more like challenging, more life threatening, like because like just like the same way like my villain that I created, which basically like you will think like Draken, Shigo, and the others were like kind of like child's play. Now this new villain is basically like a much more serious threat. Like basically saying to Kim Possible like welcome to the big leagues.
No, I like that.
Like
I think that could work.
Yeah, and the idea I had for this villain was basically so far, like again, I'm still working on the character, but so far it's like it's a villain that comes from aristocratic roots, and he's basically in my idea, he's basically like a Kim Possible version of Professor Moriarty. Yeah, kind of like basically in Kim Possible, like he's basically the Napoleon of crime in Kim Possible.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of still working on the design, but overall, he like I said, he in my description he would have been basically as like not just simply the biggest threat Kim Possible has ever faced. Also, in the same time, the only villain that really got under Kim Possible's skin.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, like I do have some ideas, but I think like again, those are like my ideas. And at first, I thought like maybe it would work as a movie, but then later on, I kind of transformed it into like a TV series. And even though, and for me personally, this TV show wouldn't last long because I think like because the idea I had is basically like for 2 seasons. Because for like 2 seasons, like basically like it's basically like a 2 parts story. And basically and the reason and the kind of idea I had why I would bring Draken and Shigo into the mix alongside some other villains is because every single one of them were connected to this new villain.
Interesting.
The kind of idea I have, the kind of like idea I can give you is basically that everything that basically in the criminal underworld, this villain is basically the accountant.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's kind of like the accountant. Like of all the things that these villains have done, he's basically like he financially supported them.
Interesting. I like that.
Like for example, okay, let me give you an example. Like for example, when when Draken and Shigo went to the secret lab, stole that microchip that he put on Shigo's head.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my story, basically this new villain would have been connected to that, in which like basically he gave Draken information how he can get.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's basically kind of like the underworld broker, basically.
Okay, I like that.
So that's kind of gives you like a connection to the other villains, but also at the same time, he's a villain that has a very dark reputation.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, those are kind of the kind of ideas I have. But overall, I think like a revival. I think it's possible.
Oh, yeah, I think they could easily do a revival.
Yeah, but the question I have: would the animation and the style change? That's the question.
I think it.
What do you think?
I think it could. I don't know. What do you think?
Because I mean, personally, if Kim Possible comes back, I don't think it would be the same style as it was before.
I mean,
I think like
I think they'd have to update it to some degree.
I mean,
or not update it. I think they'd have to change it to some degree.
Okay, like for example, okay, let me give you an example. I think like for example, like I think like he would have been the same treatment, like for example, X-Men the animated series and X-Men '97 had. Like it would have tried to keep the same style, but also at the same time there would be some modifications. Maybe like they would have been drawn a little bit more detailed. Like maybe like I said, I think like the designs would have been a little bit different, and I think like the details on their faces and designs and everything, I think they also would have changed a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I mean, here's the question I have: if they decide to do a revival of Kim Possible, but they do it like in 3D animation, would you still watch it?
I probably would. I'd have to think
Like
about that, but I
again,
probably would. I mean, it would be different animation, but I probably would.
yeah, because like it would be like again, they would continue the story. Let's just say that most of the showrunners would have returned, to do this with, of course, some new faces as well. But so everything would have been almost the same, but the animation would have changed because I think like with the type of the style they had, I mean, I think they would have kept the same design because look at Modern Family. They didn't change that much. To kind of give you an example, when they revived it.
Wait, you mean Proud Family?
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, Proud Family. Sorry. My bad. I mean, if you remember Proud Family, they didn't change too much.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there is a chance for Kim Possible to be the same style, but so again, anything is possible. I do think there would have been some changes, definitely, especially in the looks.
I do think though the series finale, I think it left the door open though for them to. I mean, I think it left the door. It really did leave the. I mean, it was satisfying because it wrapped everything up, but I think it also really left the door open that if they want to, and they get the right plot, the right pitch, the right story, I think they could easily sell doing another season or sell doing a spinoff or revival or whatever they do.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing because because literally with the type of finale they did, they left like two choices. One, they could literally like stop with like they could literally like finish with what they had. This could literally be the end, or it could still be open to new ideas. How to continue the story. So I want to say so again. It wasn't left as a cliffhanger or anything, but it was left like possibly open to
Yeah.
some new stories.
It's a lot like
Basically.
it reminds me of Kids Next Door. Kids Next Door was really left open.
Yeah,
Although
exactly. But
that show I heard was supposed to have a spinoff, Galactic KND, and never did. Um but that it kind of reminds me of Kids Next Door because both I think really are left open enough that I mean Kids Next Door though it like I said that was supposed to have a spinoff, but I mean it's left open enough that if they can think up a good story and they can figure out what to do with these characters, they could easily revive it. I think. Um, but like I said earlier, I think if they do, they'd have to do streaming. I think you're right
mm,
to an extent. I think that the kids nowadays probably wouldn't be interested in it. But I think like us, like for nostalgia reasons and everything, I think, and just because it was a good show, I think like people like us would be interested in it. I think like our generation, like around our generation, I think would be more interested in it, and I think it would do better. I mean, I think it would be much better streaming. I think they would get a lot more people watching it. Um, I think that one thing I hope they don't do with it is they like to kidify a lot of shows. Um, I hope they don't
mm,
revive it and kidify it, because that
yeah.
will not go well. That will be bad. Um, so I'm hoping they don't do that. But I can see it coming back.
Yeah, but also one of the other problems that I think will be a big challenge for them is who of the original voice cast will return.
Well,
Because
I
I
think
think because personally I think the voice of Kim Possible and Ron, I think they would have been I think they would be recasted.
well, see Ron I think could come back. Wilfredo I think he could come back. Um,
Follow the audience in age for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get you, Caroline. I get you. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, look, like I said, Nicole Sullivan and John DiMaggio, I can definitely see them coming back. I can definitely see the guy who voiced Duff Killigan coming back. Uh, the voice actors for the possible family, I think I can see them come back. Maybe the twins, I don't know. I don't know if
yeah,
the same
yeah.
guy would return. I don't know about that. The voice actress for Rufus, I think she would. I think she would, but I don't know because, like, I mean, like I said, some of the old cast might return, but I think like the majority, I think they would have been recasted.
See, Wilfredo, I think could still do Ron. I don't know about Christy Carlson Romano. I don't know. I have,
She lost her Kim Possible voice.
but Wilfredo though, I think he could probably still do it though.
Maybe, maybe I don't know.
But see, the thing is, if you're going to recast one, I think you have to recast the other because I think you need chemistry between whoever's
Mm,
playing Kim and Ron. So I don't think you can have one original. Now I wouldn't be opposed to recasting like one of the teachers like Barkin or making a new teacher like Barkin and having Will
mm.
Fredel do that.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to Mr. Birkins, like, I mean, that's another question I have. Like, will we actually see some of the old characters returning as well? Because, like, again, this is basically a new chapter for Kim Possible and
Well,
Ron. So,
I'm sure they'd figure out a way to bring Mr. Barkin in. But I think what they ought to do though is they ought to have like a teacher like in the college like Barkin and like have like dynamic with like him and Ron,
yes.
But have Will Fredel voice him
Mm, mm,
because I think that I think that if they as far as Kim and Ron go, I think if they recast one, they have to recast the other. I think you need the chemistry between the actors.
yeah, yeah, but I still think like if they're gonna bring back Kim Possible, like I think like they're gonna recast the main two. I think
Yeah,
they're not gonna be the same
yeah.
voices for sure.
Well,
But I
they couldn't do one original and the other new. That wouldn't work.
no, no, if you're gonna do one new, one old, then definitely you're gonna have both of them
Yeah,
be the completely new voices. But I think like since they're in college and since like they're gonna sound more mature, I think it's gonna make sense. If you would like for them like to change, the voices. Even though some people might say like well since they're in college, the voice actress who did Kim Possible in the original TV show that she could return now, voicing like an older Kim Possible, but the way how her voice, through the ages, changed. I don't think she would be able to voice a college version of Kim.
yeah, yeah. I would agree.
In
I think her voice does sound a little bit different. Yeah,
Yeah, but overall, I mean, overall, in the end, I just want to say that do I think a possible return for Kim Possible is literally possible? I think so. I mean, so far, I would say it's a 50-50 chance because, again, the craving for a revival, it's pretty weak, to be fair.
yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I disagree with it, but I don't disagree. I think you're right for the most part.
I mean, to be fair, the only way I mean, if you want to bring Kim Possible back, I think the best way you can do is basically to make it as a Kim Possible animated movie.
Yeah,
I think that would be
like a one
the
off. So like a one off then.
yeah, basically you could
Yeah.
like
Okay.
you kind of like continue the story, and basically making but basically making like a Kim Possible animated movie, but straight up to Disney Plus.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because I don't see a movie like that going into the theater.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, like so far, I just want to say, fingers crossed that we get some sort of like a revival to Kim Possible, because some of these shows, I feel like they deserve to be brought back.
Yes.
Like I mean, yeah, I mean some of them were brought back and it didn't and wasn't so good. But like if you have the right people on board, I think like the revival will be good. So again, we shall see. Even though it's very small, but there's still a chance that maybe even that Kim Possible could be revived. Who knows? Either way, it looks like we have come to an end to another Shadow Council episode. Do you have anything else to add before we finish?
Not really. Not really. Just I did a horror Kim Possible would be cool, but
the only way how horror Kim Possible would work if basically Dr. Draken brainwashed her and turned into a serial killer.
Ooh.
There, now you drugged me. Anyway. Anyway. So, with all that being said, we have finally come to an end to another Shadow Council episode. I hope everyone who watched have enjoyed our overall crazy bonkers talk about the Kim Possible and many different other subjects that we had throughout our journey. You all guys and girls know the drill when it comes to commenting, liking, subscribing. Give us our all personal thoughts about like Kim Possible. What if you have ever watched the show? What did you thought about in general, about the certain characters, the villains? Everything about do you think like a possible revival is possible? Who knows? But everything about the Kim Possible in general, just put it in the comment section down below. And until then,
host.
Please just please, for the love of God, just do me a favor, just vote for him so he can be happy at least just once, literally. Anyway, oh boy. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for more. And as always, I'm your host, Laura Shadows, signing off.
TK out.
Or, as I love to say, later, fuckers.